So hello, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of Women Wage Peace. I am Melinda Jones. I'm the President of National Council of Jewish Women of Australia. And I live on the land of the Boon Wurrung people, and I want to pay my respects to the Boon Wurrung people, to the elders, past and present. And I want to extend that welcome to and respect to the elders of all the lands on which you are all seated around the country. And it's fantastic to have people here from so many different places. This group of Women Wage Peace has met a number of times, and we're building ourselves into a group. And today we're looking at the second project that is a new project for Women Wage Peace. And so I'll hand you over to Peta, who is going to introduce you to Neta and the project.
So I've just invited, and I think it's very important that you meet Neta and hear from her again. Many of you were here last time, but not all of you. Neta is the coordinator of the Building Bridges project, and I just wanted to ask her to tell us a few words about the project and its importance to us.
Yeah, I'm the coordinator of this project, so I work with Women Wage Peace. I'm quite new in the movement, so I joined specifically for this project. Beside that, I do all kind of work of Israelis and Palestinians, officially and non-officially. About this project, well, I think it's a very special kind of cooperation between Women Wage Peace and Women of the Sun, which is the Palestinian movement from the West Bank, who we work together with, and this is a shared project. For me, this is what makes it very valuable. I mean, it's important to work within the Israeli society for sure, but the fact that we are doing a process within the Israeli society, within Israeli women, and afterwards we're doing it together with Palestinian women from the West Bank, especially on these hard days of the war, where it's even harder than before, I feel. It makes it challenging, but very precious for me. And I think we're not giving up on any challenge on the way. I mean, in the first round, we decided the group of the Israeli women, it will include all Israeli women, Arab, Jews, Christians, Muslims, Druze, from different parts of the land, especially on this group that we're talking about, which includes women of faith, religious women on all kind of the spectrum of religious. It can be Orthodox or Reform, or women who have more faith in them, but not necessarily doing the whole religious practices on daily life. But what's common to all of them is that the religious is part of their belief and their choices of living. And it's something that leads their actions or their perspectives in a way. And we really want to give much space and respect to all religions on this group, and connect the faith and connect the different worlds that meet there within the different religions, to see how can we be involved in peacemaking, and what is the role of each participant within her own community, within her own people, in the close circles and in the wider circles, and how can she affect there to bring more peaceful talking, peaceful thinking, and a perspective of living together in an equal way on this land. And for most of them, it will be maybe the first time to go to a deep process with Palestinian women from the West Bank. And I think this is why many of them chose to participate in this program. So for now, we're starting the process of the Israeli group for 4 meetings. The first one will be next week. And in 4 months from now, we're going to gather them with the Palestinian women from the West Bank and do 4 more meetings together. We actually... frankly, we don't know exactly what will be, how it will be, what kind of emotions, what kind of meeting we will see there. It might be hard. I hope it will be hard, because if it will be hard, it will be real. I hope we can challenge it. We can channel it to a good place, to a place that give them hope and give them motivation for action. Because actually our goal is to create more activists that will take actions and not just think like, okay, we need peace, but actually will be willing to put their time and energy and maybe do some sacrifice of this time in Israel. It's not easy to talk about peace. It's not easy to say, I'm meeting Palestinians, I want to do something with them. It's not taken for granted at all, especially in the religious communities. So they're all very brave women, and they chose to do a brave process. And I hope we'll give them the support and the knowledge and the inspiration, and that will help them to open up and really find the common ground to be able to take actions together. This is our goal.
And thank you. I cannot tell everybody how grateful we are that Neta is coordinating for us. She's skillful and passionate, and that's what we really need. So, and thank you, Neta, for on this incredibly pressured morning for spending time with us here. And now I'm going to say thank you for being here, excuse you, and ask Shoshi to spotlight Raefa and myself, and we'll take it from here. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I cannot keep going. I have to go clean up the place for the seminar tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Neta. It's really been appreciated.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Good luck. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shoshi, can you highlight Raefa and myself?
For everyone, I prefer to speak in Hebrew, and Peta will help me. I just to say I'm very happy to be with you, and very happy to work with Peta. ואני אעבור לעברית, פיתה, שאת תתרגמי אותי, בסדר?
Of course. I must say those few words that Raefa just said are the first words I've ever heard her speak in English, and she's very good. We have a communication system by which I write in English and she responds in Hebrew, but I think, of course, you will hear from her accent and hear as she tells her story that Raefa's first language was Arabic, so she's got English is third, maybe more. Shoshi, we're not spotlighted yet, I don't think.
You are on my computer.
You are, Peter.
Oh, okay, not in my computer. That's fine. Okay, thank you. So Raefa said she would prefer to speak in Hebrew, as I said, her second language, because unfortunately, I wish I did, but I don't have the skills to translate from Arabic. And she's going to tell you a little bit about who she is. So Raefa, yeah.
עוד פעם, מרחבה, שלום, והי לכולם. אני שמחה מאוד, עוד פעם אני אומרת שאני שמחה מאוד להיות פה, ואני מאוד שמחה שאני עובדת עם פיתה. אנחנו מהוות מודלינג מאוד יפה, שזה אפשר, ואנחנו הכרנו לא מזמן, אני ופיתה, ואני מרגישה שאני מכירה את פיתה שנים.
Raefa just said we're modeling the partnership that we want our participants to model, because we've only known each other for a very short time and we're already in love with each other. We work together as a natural team, and it's just happened as the chemistry is there. So we will model what we want from our participants.
אני אישה מוסלמית ערבייה, במקור מכפר כנא באזור נצרת. אני גרה בחיפה משנת 89, ואני מאוד מחוברת כל החיים שלי, הייתי מאוד אישה מאוד פעילה.
So she was born in Kfar Kana, which is in the Nazareth area, but now lives in Haifa since 1989. And she has always been an activist. And Raefa, סליחה, אני אספר שאת לא צריכה להגיד בעברית. Raefa told us at a meeting we had, because part of this process that we're going through as moderators of this group, and as the moderators also of the environmental group whom you met, we've also been in training as to how to get the best out of this incredible opportunity. And Raefa told the story of how she was destined or born to be married off to her cousin, and how she refused to do what was supposed to be her destiny, And as she was telling us the story, we recognized her strength and her determination. There are many, of course, subparts of the story, but her insistence on being who she is very much part of who of Raefa. She's not one to just follow along blindly.
את יכולה להגיד מילה שגם שזה דבר שמאוד קשה בחברה המוסלמית, ואני לפני 4 שנים גם התגרשתי, ואני גרה לבד בחיפה.
Not only did she resist the forced marriage as a young woman and literally ran away to Jerusalem and did not go back for a long time while she was insisting on being her own woman. But 4 years ago, she made another brave decision. She did marry. She married the good-looking guy in the neighborhood and decided to, in something very difficult in Muslim society, decided to leave him, decided to take a divorce. And she took that divorce without taking anything with her, because in Muslim society, the woman who walks out of a marriage is very, very disadvantaged. And again, that's part of her courage and strength. She didn't say that, I did.
לא, את מכירה את הסיפור פיתה, ואני אחזור לנושא החיים המשותפים. אני ערבייה שיש לי את החיים כאזרחית מדינת ישראל. אני גדלתי בתור ילדה ובתור אישה, וגם מבחינה מקצועית אני עובדת סוציאלית. כל הנושא האנושי ביחסים בין אנשים ואהבה בין אנשים וחיים משותפים הוא משהו מאוד מאוד חשוב לי ומלווה אותי כל השנים, ואני עושה המון. בחיפה אני אביא דוגמה, תכף תתרגמי ואני אביא דוגמה.
Okay, so Raefa said she's been driven all the time as an Israeli Arab citizen. She's been driven all the time to work towards shared society. She chose the profession of social worker because she felt that's, again, where she should make that contribution to a shared society, and it's driven her. And now she's going to give an example of something that, I should say she's mentioned to me previously that that's one of the reasons she chose to live in Haifa, which is a shared city. So she's now going to give an example of from her life in Haifa.
כן, אני רוצה להביא דוגמה שבנינו פורום שנקרא הפסיפס הישראלי הפסיפס לבניית אמון בחברה הישראלית אחרי המלחמה, כי למדנו מהאירועים הקודמים כמה חשוב שנהיה מגובשים ויודעים לעבוד ביחד גם בזמני של המשבר הכי קשה שיכול להיות בין ערבים ליהודים.
So even since the war, she's been involved in founding a new not-for-profit, a new organization for cooperation and conciliation. And there's a word I'm looking for. It's like compromise or working out how to live together in shared society since the war in Haifa, because they've learned that this is the time to organize ourselves and demonstrate that we can and will live together in shared society.
אני שמחה שגם אני יזמתי להתחיל להתנדב ללמד יהודים את השפה הערבית, כי אני מאמינה שמאוד חשוב שנכיר את הנרטיב אחד של השני, את החיים, את המנהגים ואת התוכן האמיתי, לא רק מרחוק אלא בהיכרות מעמיקה. והיה אירוע מרגש לפני שבוע שעשינו זיכרון מהסלון על השואה בבית מוסלמי ערבי בחיפה, ואני הייתי חלק ממי שיזמו את האירוע הזה, כי היה לי חשוב שהשואה היא תהפוך למשהו אנושי ולא אירוע רק ליהודים, ולכן היה לי חשוב שנעשה את זה בבית מוסלמי בחיפה בהשתתפות 70 אנשים, חצי ערבים וחצי יהודים.
So Raefa mentioned language. She has volunteered now to teach Arabic to Israelis, and this is the issue of language is a huge issue in this country where we don't have a common language. We can't necessarily communicate with one another, and her volunteering is just another example of pushing and looking for the breakthroughs. Another thing that she did recently last week was to organize in a Muslim Arab home one of these Holocaust, I don't know if you have them in Australia now, I think we did, we call them salon meetings with Holocaust survivors, but for the first time, they did one in a Muslim home. And the audience, the 70 participants were half Muslims and Jews, because Raefa believes that the Shoah, the Holocaust, is not just a heritage for Jewish Israelis, but it's a heritage for the whole nation. And again, I'm just going to say that this is this individual that I have as my partner here, my co-moderator. I think she's a remarkable woman, and I think it's the strength of the movement that we have women like Raefa who are part of Women Wage Peace, and they really have something unique to contribute. I'm now going to move on. And
Peta,
yes.
Can I just ask a question before you move on?
Sure.
Because the project is about religious life, and I do want you to tell us more about the actual project, but I thought it might be quite interesting to hear about Raefa's own religious involvement or engagement, how that affects how she's motivated and whatever, and how she sees that.
הבנת את השאלה, רייפה?
עדיף, הבנתי, אבל שאני לא אפספס משהו, תתרגמי בבקשה.
כן, אז היא רצה לדעת איך החיים הדתיים משפיע עלייך, כמה חשוב הדת, בעניין של דת, כמה חשוב זה לך בחיים שלך.
אני אישה מאוד מאמינה, ואני גדלתי בבית שאנחנו חצי ממש דתיים וחצי מתונים. אני מהמתונים.
רגע, אני אתרגם את זה בכל משפט, כי אני לא רוצה לשכוח שום דבר. Raefa describes herself as a deep believer. She grew up in a home, and she'll tell you how many children in a minute, where half of them are sort of clearly religious and half are not religious, and it's across the spectrum. כמה ילדים אתם? 14?
16.
16 children. Raefa's right in the middle, but she describes herself as a deep believer.
אני מאמינה בדת כמשהו חיובי שיקרב בין אנשים ולא שיפצל וירחיק אנשים.
Religion is something that could bring people together, and it shouldn't be something that divides people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's talk a bit more about the project. And Raefa, את או תשאלי אותי אם את לא הבנתי מה שאמרתי, או רצה להוסיף משהו, אבל אני אתחיל. So the project is to bring together women of faith. That's how we would describe them. We have participants, the majority, of course, because it's a majority Jewish country, the majority are Jewish, but we have good representation from Muslim, Christian, and Druze, Israelis as well. Our first group is about 25 after an interview process, because we had many more applications for the project than we could imagine. And these are exceptional women, some of whom are already great activists within their communities. But we've recognized that religion, as Raefa just said, it should be for peacemaking, but religion sometimes is a big divisive factor. And also we were talking this morning about the fact that sometimes religious women, particularly, but not only women and men, feel that their religion is telling them one thing and their conscience is telling them something else. And there's no better example of that than the peacemaking movement in this country, which is often identified with left-wing and anti-religious, and therefore doesn't always provide the opening or the space that religious people, and particularly religious women, feel they can be activist. Raefa, את הבנת או רוצה להוסיף משהו?
לא, הבנתי. תודה.
תמשיך. So we have 4 meetings, as Neta said, 4 meetings with just the Israeli group, and then there will be 4 further meetings where we will meet with our Palestinian partners who are undergoing a similar process, although they don't have Jews, but they do have Christians and Muslims together, and they'll be having 4 meetings to prepare them for the 4 meetings with the Israeli group, also looking at religion as a tool for peacemaking. And we have decided in the Israeli team, and Raefa Neta and myself have been the team of preparation, that we are going to look at 4 topics over the 4 weeks, or give the overarching theme for each week. Our first topic is love for the other, the stranger, loving the stranger, the other, the different, how within society, and we are using the opening of the book of Ruth to start us thinking about that topic, and we're going to use bibliodrama as a tool there to help us explore those questions. Our second,
people might not know what bibliodrama is, and you might like to just briefly say something.
I'll very, very quickly. It is a method of looking, getting deeply inside a text. The word bibliodrama comes from the word book. It doesn't have to be a religious text, but we use it for religious texts. And we've found it to be an incredible tool to see 2 things. First of all, the commonality that we have as human beings when we read a story and how we empathize as human beings, but also different religious approaches to the same story or text. And if I can give an illustration from a text that I hope to do at the end of the 8th session, this is for me, a most powerful example, is that I did a bibliodrama on Abraham sacrificing his son. For Jews, the son is Yitzchak. For Muslims, the son is Ishmael. It doesn't matter. It's a story of a father who feels obliged to offer up his son. And I did it with a group of Christian, Jewish, and Muslim religious leaders. And when they were standing over their son, ready to sacrifice him, and each one was asked to reflect on what they are feeling at that moment, it was clear that we had the common humanity of the distress or despair of a father and child, but we also had differences. The Christians in particular saw that moment as a different moment than Jews and Muslims, and it was so interesting to see the different resonances as well as the common humanity. So I bring that as an example of where difference really came out. But in the story of Ruth, which is the story of people who leave one place and go to another, and then have to deal with being strangers, and then come back, and Ruth is a stranger. We switch roles. First Naomi is a stranger, and then Ruth is a stranger. We're going to use that to explore what it is to be both a stranger and also those who have to welcome the stranger. So all those questions will come out. So that was our first meeting. Our second meeting, we're going to look at the concept of kindness and ahavat chinam, love that just comes from the heart. And we are going to continue Ruth, but we're adding 2 other elements. The one is that Raefa, as a social worker, brings, and with her own activism, brings many skills. And she's introduced me to a wonderful story of a river that runs through various locations. And when the river reaches various places, it either takes things with it or leaves things behind. It either has a strong flow or a light flow. It has depth and it has height. And using this analogy of the river and where we find ourselves in our life, we're going to introduce that. And that's going to lead us to allow the women in the group to talk about where they are struggling at the moment. Neta mentioned that we're at a very difficult period. And all of us are struggling to find the way that our religion will guide us, if you like a river, into peacemaking. So we're going to explore, we're going to use that methodology, and then we're going to continue the story of Ruth into the issues of kindness and chesed. Our third meeting is on justice. And we've decided to invite 4 female religious scholars. Leah Shakdiel has already agreed to be the Jewish scholar. Some of you will know her. We have a Christian scholar, we will have a Muslim and a Druze scholar who will bring us sources from their respective religions on justice and the place of justice in each religion. We will open that meeting with stories of injustice, if you like. We'll ask people to reflect on where they've felt a lack of justice in their lives, and then we'll move it towards justice. So that will be the third meeting. And the fourth meeting of us as a group, we're going to deal with issues of truth, if you like, competing narratives, that's an expression we use. And we're going to lead from that into how we compromise, or Raefa loves the phrase pius, which is a form of compromise, or what's the word we used? I've forgotten. Doesn't matter. It's a form of how do you, if you've got conflicting truths, how do you bring them together and work out a way of living? Aaron, the brother of Moses, was known as the person who could find the golden mean, could find the path between the different truths, and that will be our fourth meeting. So that's how we've structured the program. Raefa, I just asked Raefa to add anything.
אני רק רוצה שתגידי בבקשה שכל המפגשים ילוו גם בתפילות במהלך.
Oh yes, thank you. Yes, Raefa has reminded me that we're going to start every meeting with a prayer, and we're going to have two aspects to the prayer. It will be a prayer that's we've got such a collection of prayers that have been written. Some of them have written expressly for this time. Some of them just been written for the interfaith experience. We'll do them in Hebrew and Arabic. And then we will follow by individuals silently making their own prayer, because as this is a group of believers, we want the ritual of prayer to be part of our shared experience. So we'll have common prayer that we'll hear together and share together, but place also for individual prayer. And that's how we'll start our meetings.
So, Peta, none of this is specifically related to peace. I can see how these values are important values that you need to embrace to move towards peace, but they're not about building peace and building the peace process. So how are we going to move from embracing each other, because that obviously has to happen as part of this process. If we don't know and trust each other, we're not going to be able to build peace. But from that first position of trust, what happens next in terms of this being a women wage peace thing rather than an interfaith activity?
Thank you. It's a fantastic question, and we ask it every time we're preparing. But one of the most important things is that at the end of these 4 weeks, and then again at the end of the 8 weeks, women have an opportunity to actually start initiatives, and we have funding, and that's part of the process, is that they have to take what we're doing in the meetings to do some form of activism or project. I can't preempt what the women are going to develop. That is very much part of what they signed up for, is that they will be in their own localities doing something. You also give me the opportunity here to say, because we've just been discussing it, that we're not going to force it on our participants the first meeting, but it's part of it. Everybody needs to put into their diaries now the 1st of July. The 1st of July is Women Wage Peace's next major gathering. And although the timing, it's 5 p.m. in Israel, is not going to be suitable for Australia because it will be midnight, we will want our supporter groups around the world to somehow participate or contribute to the 1st of July. We are saying this is not a rally. This is not a planning meeting. This is the beginning of a process. That's our call for the 1st of July, that we will be coming together to begin the process of a negotiated peace settlement with the Palestinians, which is Women Wage Peace's call. And it's going to be a huge event in Tel Aviv. We're already well into, and we've got coordinators and people who are planning it. By chance, I'll be in Toronto that day, and the Toronto group is going to, because of the timing, they can do it. It's their morning. You can't do it simultaneously, so you'll have to work out, and Melinda and I will continue this conversation, and then she'll involve everybody, I'm sure, work out how Australia can be involved. But the issue is, Lindy, and I want to add one more thing to what I've just said, but I'll finish this one first, then add one thing. But the issue is that these women don't just have this experience of those 8 meetings, 4 together and then 4 with Women of the Sun, but they are within a broader framework of women wage peace, but beyond. What they might do on their local level may not be directly women wage peace. We don't care. They don't label it women wage peace. We care that it is a peace process or project of some sort. And there's one more thing that I need to add that I think will be part of that. In the first meeting, we're going to help people find a partner or a pair or a person from the group who will be their buddy. And their job is to be in contact with that person between meetings. So it's not just the meetings themselves. In addition, we're going to encourage people to visit each other's places of worship and visit sites that they might not otherwise go to, again, taking it outside the meetings. So the meetings are to give the strength, the backbone, the values to share, but the real activism is beyond the meetings themselves. And one of the reasons that we wanted to start with Bibliodrama, but also add the river and other tools, is to also give them additional tools when they might go out, because that is something that other people can use in peace building. Now, it might not be political peace building, but it is, as you say, building those relationships and building that understanding, which is an absolute essential stepping stone to peace building. Have I answered your question? Long answer. Raefa,
you have answered that. I think Rafa wants to add something, though.
No, I just asked if she does. She said no.
Okay. I still, though, want to push you a little bit more about this peace process, because so in a way what you're doing is you're saying, sorry, let me step back. With the environmental project, you said one of the things was we have people who are activists. By being activists, they're people who care. They care passionately about the thing they've been caring about. Maybe we could ask them to also care about something else that relates to their cause, their existing cause. Okay, so as activists, they care about the earth. Maybe that they'll recognize that peace is an important thing in terms of the sustainability of the environment, so they'll come in. So if I bring that analogy into the religious sphere, would you say that this is the same sort of process, that we're saying to people, you've already got these strengths and passion inside you, and those passions and strengths are towards peace, towards justice, towards doing the right thing, right? If it's just that, which could, because it could be in different religions phrased in different ways. Now you're committed to doing the right thing. Can you bring peace into your arsenal of the right thing? And can you make peace one of the things that you will embrace in whatever way you embrace it as you move forward? Is that a fair description of what you're doing?
Yes, but I want to ask רייפה, את רוצה להגיד משהו על הנושא הזה, שמה אנחנו בעצם עושות עם הפרויקט?
אני קודם כל, תודה על השאלה. מה שחשוב לנו זה לא רק לייצר את החוויה של שותפות בתוך התוכנית עצמה. המטרה שלנו היא להשפעה העתידית של כל אישה, להרחיב את ההשפעה ואת העשייה, גם בקהילה שלה ובחברה שלה, וגם בחברה המשותפת.
רגע, אני רוצה לתקן, ואז את יכולה להמשיך. So Raefa says that we have a double aim. The first is the experience itself has to be a powerful experience, but it's not enough. We need it to go beyond the experience of the meetings, and we need to expand their circle of influence. The women we've chosen already have one of the criteria for their selection was they already have some sphere of influence, but we want to expand their spheres of influence and make sure that they are able to take with the experience, the positive experience of these meetings into their worlds and move towards shared society. And Raefa keeps using the expression of shared society, which isn't necessarily a peace treaty, but it is absolutely essential if we're to have any effect of a. There wouldn't be any good to have a peace treaty with the Palestinians and for Israeli society itself to break down and not be shared society. So definitely it's part of our peace work. Raefa, את רוצה להמשיך?
אני אומרת, כן, אני רוצה להוסיף משהו, שהמפגש הזה הוא יוריד המון חסמים והמון פחדים, והנשים האלה שהן מאוד משפיעות בקהילות שלהם, שיעתיקו את החוויה שזה לא רק שזה לא מפחיד, אלא משהו מאוד חיובי.
So what we're helping these women to do is take down some of those obstacles or barriers to them becoming peace activists. We're showing them that it's a very positive thing, that they can have a positive influence. And there are women who are coming to this meeting who deeply believe it's the right thing, but feel that they don't really know how to do it, or are scared of the social impact of becoming more vocal. And we're going to give them the support and the confidence that they can do what they would like to do. So these are already women of influence. We're helping them expand their circle of influence and helping them expand, as you said, Lindy, the arsenal of things that they can move forward with to really be peace activists, not just social influencers. תודה לך.
I'm wondering whether I should just, being cognizant of the time, actually see if anybody else would like to ask a question of you. I've got some other things I'd like to ask you, but I think maybe I should just open the floor up. If you're interested, could you raise your hand and we'll see, and then Shoshi, maybe you can call people.
No problem. Seems to be a quiet room tonight. There's so much to think about. Everyone's chewing on all these ideas.
Well, I think is Jen trying to? No, it's hard to tell if Jen's. No.
While people are thinking, can I ask you a very selfish question? Do you think that we could have a taste of what you're doing with this group at some stage? That you could actually come, I mean, you know, just with an hour, obviously, rather than with your 3 hours of whatever you're doing. But I don't know if it would work at all, because I don't know whether people have to be women of faith before you'd start a process. And people in the room, some of the people in the room are women of faith and some of them are almost certainly not. But if we had a very mixed group, could we learn how the religious process might work?
Interesting. I think there are two things. There's definitely the river story, the Nahar, could be done with any group of women and would be an interesting experience. Are you thinking about convening an interfaith group to do it with them? Is that what you're thinking of? I'm not sure.
No, I was actually thinking, you know, we are building our own group here in terms of, you know, people still don't know each other. We haven't really done anything because everything's been on Zoom, so it's quite isolating. On the other hand, it allows us to have people from South Australia and Wollongong and wherever else with us at the same time. But I was wondering whether there might be, you know, a taste of some of the substance that we might be able to share with the people who are part of our group, and say that, you know, this is the sort of thing we did in this session or we did in that session, and this is how we used it to move forward.
I mean, I go back to the river. I can see that as being a beautiful exercise to do with any group. I don't know how, Raefa, זה עובד על זום? אני חושבת שכן, נכון?
כן, כן.
It is, Raefa could do it on Zoom. I could certainly do the bibliodrama on Zoom. We have done it on Zoom. It's something, it's very interesting. Corona didn't have a positive effect in general, but it did teach us how to use Zoom more effectively. And so we have done bibliodrama on Zoom. So we could do those, but the ideal, I would say, for me, if you could convene, and would have to be a limited number, but a group of Christians, of Muslims and Jews perhaps, who would experience it together, and we could bring them on Zoom, I would think that could be an incredible experience. I think that's something, so sort of representing Women of the Sun and Women Wage Peace. If you've got any Muslim peacemakers in this country, I don't know if you do.
Most of the interfaith groups have completely folded since October 7. So that means that, well, the Christians and Jews is still going, but almost everywhere where there was a Muslim presence, there is no longer a Jewish presence. So there isn't a group that's a partner group, but I have got a group of other people who are interested in being involved. And amongst them, there are Muslims and Christians. You know, it's just it's a scattering of individuals rather than any sort of organized group. Other people on this call might also know, and other people in our group might know people who are religious of the different faith groups, just individually, that we could bring in.
They wouldn't have to be religious to experience but either the river or the bibliodrama, just have to be interested in coming from their background towards a common experience and, you know, seeing the common humanity, something along those lines. We could talk about it that way, but I can see that as being something, a really lovely, positive thing to do. So I'm interested in if anyone's got an interest in doing something like this, because obviously we can do things on, was that Aviva, you were saying yes? Okay, so we'll please, let's communicate in the WhatsApp group about this. When we're going to meet with the Women of the Sun in a couple of weeks' time, we've got a date now for the Women of the Sun. It's in a fortnight from today. yes.
Is there anything special we should know or prepare for that meeting?
No, well, you're actually meeting Marwa, who is one of the key figures in Women of the Sun, whose English is excellent, and she'll tell you about herself and about her movement, and I'll be there just to respond about the relationship with Women Wage Peace. But it's really getting to know her, and I would emphasize her courage, because while that I'm in love with Raefa, I've said that already, and I have enormous admiration for her and her activism and everything she does. And she does take some risks within her own community as being part of Women Wage Peace. It doesn't compare with the risks that these Women of the Sun take just by being active in Women of the Sun. They are truly heroic, because they are standing up for something which completely goes against the norms of their society. And so I want you to meet her and hear the story and hear about the importance of that movement.
Okay, it's a last opportunity for people to ask questions before I'm going to bring us together for the evening. Shosh, can you see anybody who's got a question there?
I've got a new sign I've never had before. I have a green tick next to Karen's name. I don't know if that means Karen has.
That was just a you go girl. So sorry.
No, that's all right. It's just haven't seen that sign in a while, so I was thinking maybe that was something else. But wonderful. I'm so glad we've got all this encouragement. There's no one else with their hand up in particular, but I have to say it is such a wonderful idea, this idea of using the things that bind us so much to our own cultures to find where that can actually be a link to someone else's culture. I think that's something really powerful. I've always admired in the work that Peta does, finding that incredibly human experience of reaching faith or spirituality or community through it, and then finding that ability to connect through it. So I'm quite curious to see where this goes, but it's in some ways it's almost too abstract to really grasp as a concept, because who knows what that community outcome of spirituality is going to create in that wonderful arrangement of people. Just hypothetically, I find it quite hard to imagine all the different options that could be put on the table.
I will share with you, Shoshi, that when we were planning the second meeting today, we were talking about it, we said we really can't until we've had the first. We have to see what the dynamics of the group are, where there are perhaps difficulties or where there are opportunities. And so you're quite right. For us, it's very exciting that we don't know. And that's true every time you do bibliodrama. I think you've done bibliodrama with me in the past, Josh, have you not?
I have.
So when you do bibliodrama, you never know where it's going to go. And I think this is one of the exciting things, is that we will end up probably learning as much from the participants as they get from us. That's again part of the joy of working with a group of highly motivated and activist women, that we're not giving them everything. It's a growing experience for everyone. רייפה, את רוצה להגיד איזה מילים בסיכום, או יש עוד משהו להוסיף?
אני רוצה להגיד שאני שמחה שהם באו לשמוע אותנו, ותהיה חוויה מעניינת, ובהמשך אנחנו נשמח גם לעדכן אותם איך זה מתפתח.
So Raefa just says that she's so excited by your support, this Australian group, and how wonderful that is, and she looks forward to updating you on, sharing, coming back in another time and telling you how the project is going. So
I wanted to say, by way of sort of concluding, bringing things together. At the beginning, Peta, you mentioned something about you being role models. And one of the ways you're role models is in your relationship with each other. Now, all of us could see this evening how well you work with each other, how well you're reflecting each other's ideas and thoughts. I think that's quite incredible. And that's going to be, I think, a very good indicator of the chance of success, because, if people have got not just people who understand the question, but actually understand the process, there is really a lot of hope, and Raefa, we've never met before, but I can feel your warmth coming through the screen and know that we're going to work together over time, and it's very exciting. Maybe I'll try and get to Israel for the 1st of July if I can't do it on Zoom. You never know. So everybody, first of all, let us thank our speakers who have been quite incredible and shared with us a project that's really quite a treat to be able to learn about. So thank you. We can't exactly clap you, but thank you both very, very much. So I mentioned that in 2 weeks' time, and we'll send out a information, we're going to meet with Women of the Sun and actually understand the partnership really for the first time, and to understand where we have to go to have an achievement. It's going to be one step beyond. As Peta said, they are much braver women than I think I would ever be. And, we have to know, can we walk that journey? Can we do it? Are we going to be able to do it? And so we'll find that out.